Hi, it's Justine from The Sacred Heart Homestead. Today I wanted to take you along with us as we celebrate a birthday on the farm. I'll be showing you a sourdough chocolate cake recipe and sharing with you how we celebrate birthdays without breaking the bank. When I first became a mother, I wanted birthdays to be a big deal. I wanted everything to be perfect, from the food to the party to the presents. Everything needed to be just right. As we've added more kids to our family, it became clear to us that my big goals were unsustainable with the amount of kids we had. Since then, we've really simplified how we celebrate birthdays. The kids get to decorate and design their own cakes on their birthday. My almost 2-year-old asked for a chocolate cake, so I'm making a sourdough version. To do this, I'm letting 2 cups of flour, 1 cup of milk, and 1 cup of sourdough starter ferment on my counter for about 4 to 6 hours before baking the cake. The kids love designing their own cakes. It's part of what makes their birthdays really special. They'll randomly come to me throughout the year with different cake designs drawn on paper, some elaborate, some realistic. One of the ways that we save money on birthdays is by setting a budget. That's not only for the birthday party expenses, but also the presents. I think it probably helps that my kids are homeschooled and we don't really watch TV, so they don't really get exposed to any kinds of advertisements for different toys, so they don't know what's out there. Birthdays are really up to my husband and I to figure out what would delight them. And they are usually happy with very little. After I had wrapped the gifts, I decided to make myself a cup of tea. I've been really into herbal teas lately, so I decided to do a mix of alfalfa, oat straw, red clover, astragalus, peppermint, in the hopes that it would give me some energy to keep going with the rest of the day. I always bake the kids' cakes the day before their birthdays, so I know that the cake will have ample time to cool down. That way I can decorate the day of the birthday without having to worry about waiting for the cake to bake. I usually trace out the 9-inch cake pans on parchment paper, and then I lather them with coconut oil, sprinkle some flour on top, and then place the parchment paper right in the bottom so that the cakes come out easily and there's no issues with it getting stuck. Baking our own cakes has been such a huge money saver. I started off just buying those boxed cake mixes, and then later on, as I felt more confident in my baking skills, I started making them from scratch. The kids usually don't get too fancy. It's usually a choice between vanilla or chocolate. And then when they get the decorating, that's where they really get creative, adding lots of different colors and different characters. But honestly, as a kid, I used to like the Betty Crocker cherry chip with white icing on top. I think I'd probably still like it as an adult if the ingredients weren't so terrible. One of the rules my husband and I have come up with for birthdays is that you only get one birthday. That means that we won't be celebrating multiple parties. We won't go out of our way to have 2 different celebrations because some people couldn't be there. Your birthday is on your birthday. We celebrate on that specific day. If grandparents or uncles and aunts have missed that day, they can always come by later and we'll have them over for supper, but it will not be a birthday, and I'm not going to stress out like it's a birthday. When my first 3 were little, it used to turn into birthday weeks where we'd have celebrations a few times during that week, and it just became so stressful for me, and I said no more. So now they get their cake and their special day, and that's it. My sourdough chocolate cake isn't difficult. All you need to do is put 1 cup of coconut oil in a mixer, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, 1 teaspoon of salt, 3/4 of a cup of cocoa, and 2 cups of sugar. Once you've done that, you can add my secret ingredient, which is a 1/4 cup of strongly brewed coffee. Mix that for a little bit, And then as you have the mixer on, add 2 eggs. Once the eggs are incorporated, sprinkle the entire mixture with 2 teaspoons of baking soda, mix it again a little bit, and then change the paddle equipment from the whisk to a paddle, and add the sourdough, milk, and flour combination that you made earlier that day. Afterwards, pour the cake batter into the prepared 9-inch cake pans and put it in the oven at 350 degrees for about 40 minutes. You'll know the cake is done when you can put a toothpick in the middle and it comes out clean. Making a cake might seem overwhelming to you if you are just at the beginning of your baking journey, but I can guarantee that no matter how the cake turns out, your kids are going to appreciate it. I actually remember one year when my sister baked my mom a cake and flies came out of it, so it can't be any worse than that. I've been trying to include small moments in my day to just take a moment to myself and have a cup of tea. It might seem like this is a weird thing for me to try and focus on doing, but quite honestly, guys, most days I forget to eat breakfast, I forget to eat lunch, and I'm just running through my day without having any time to ponder or relax. Being more intentional about taking these moments has really added some rest to my day that I didn't know I needed. So if you're a busy mom like me, I recommend that you give it a try as well, even if you're just taking 5 minutes here and there. Once the cakes are done, put them on a cooling rack for about 10 minutes and then carefully pop them out of the cake pans, letting them cool down all the way. One tradition that my husband and I had started when the kids were little and continue now that they're older is that once they go to bed, we stay up late decorating the entire house. Now, we don't spend a bunch of money on decorations. We used to do that. We used to go to the big party stores and get like really specific themed decorations, and it cost way too much money. So now we just go to the dollar store and we get their favorite color balloons and their favorite color streamers. Sometimes they get to pick them out too. And then I save some of the banners. I don't even need to buy them new every year. And we just load the house up with all this decor. In the morning, the kids wake up and they are always so excited to see all the effort that we've put in, and it really makes them feel like this is really a special day. One criticism of big families that I hear really often is that there's no way that these parents have time to spend time with all of their kids. And I find that really offensive because I make it a point every day to spend time with my kids one-on-one, getting to know them, listening to them, talking to them, playing with them. And so I don't think that my kids feel as though that they are not being seen or heard. I actually would argue that since my kids are homeschooled, I spend more time with my kids than my parents had the opportunity to spend time with me, because when we got home from school, it was homework and supper and then bedtime. And so we didn't really have a lot of time to spend together. But I am around my kids all day long, so I can find those little pockets of time that over time will add up to a lot. I'm not going to lie though, there are some days on a birthday that I am so tired and the last thing I want to do is stay up late decorating. And I question myself as to why we started this tradition in the first place. But when those kids wake up in the morning and you see the look on their face, it just makes it all worth it. My My husband is always in charge of streamers, and he overcomplicates it every year and just covers the house with them. So I'm just giving him a hand because it's going to take him longer to decorate than it takes me. The next morning, the toddler woke up and he was very surprised and very happy with all the balloons and the decorations. Another tradition that we have is the birthday kid gets to pick all the meals for the day. This includes breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. And so the first thing I had to do is get some sourdough pancakes going. I have showed you guys my sourdough discard pancake recipe. I'm going to go ahead and link that below so you guys can have access to it if you would like to see it. But it's a very easy recipe. It's just 2 cups of sourdough, 2 eggs, a 1/4 cup of coconut oil, 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, half a teaspoon of salt, and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. And I mix all of that together with my immersion blender to get it very smooth. And then I cook that on a skillet until it starts to bubble, flip it, and the pancake is ready to go. I actually just substituted the oil for butter this time around. And yes, I am feeding my toddler a slice of butter. He enjoys it, and since it's made from our cows who are grass-fed, it's good for him. I'll let you guys in on a little secret, but I absolutely hate making pancakes. I just find it so time consuming. It starts feeling like I'm stuck in some kind of time warp and I'm going to be forever flipping pancakes. I definitely prefer making like sourdough Dutch babies or something like that instead, but that's what the toddler wanted. I rarely drink coffee, but this particular morning I was exhausted since the baby was up at night, and so I made myself a Homestead coffee. I'm sure you guys have seen this before. You just crack an egg, add some cream, maybe some vanilla extract, some maple syrup if you'd like, and I added some collagen powder and you blend it up. I'm using my immersion blender again, and then just top it off with some coffee, and I found this really filling. It actually held me over until lunch. We use lard to fry our pancakes in, and so I'm just getting some of that out and adding it to the skillet before adding the pancake batter to it. Everyone was really eager to have pancakes, and so all the kids are just kind of hanging around and stressing me out a little bit because too many cooks in the kitchen, right? And so I was trying to hurry up and just get it done. But my daughter was very excited because she had lost her front tooth and the tooth fairy had come around, so she wanted to show me her money again. For lunch, my mom came over and she brought the toddler what he wanted, which was chips and some grapes, and so he was really happy with that. After lunch, it was time to get started on decorating the cake. And so the first thing I did is realize that I did not buy enough powdered sugar, so I had to make some. It's actually super simple to make powdered sugar. All you need to do is combine about 2 cups of regular sugar in a mixer, blend it until it forms a powder, and then here's the tip. If you're going to use it for buttercream or anything that you need the ingredients cool, you need to cool it down. So I just pop mine on a baking sheet and then I pop it in the freezer. To make my buttercream, I usually use 1 cup of butter to 4 cups of powdered sugar, and that gives it more or less the right consistency. If I'm noticing it's too thick, I might add a little bit of cream, and of course I always add vanilla. The first thing you want to do though for making buttercream is make sure that you've whipped up your butter to a point where it's nice and fluffy and white. After you've gotten it to this point, you can add your powdered sugar. I usually recommend adding 1 cup at a time, and put your mixer on high for about 10 seconds. Make sure to put something over the top of your mixer because powdered sugar is going to fly everywhere, and then turn it down to about a medium until it's mixed thoroughly. Lastly, you can add that cream and the vanilla extract and mix it up until it's the right consistency for you. I don't love using my Bosch mixer to make buttercream. I've already said this before, but I love it for big batches of bread dough because I know I'm going to kill a KitchenAid with the amount of bread I make. But when it comes to buttercreams or making marshmallows or anything like that, I miss my KitchenAid. I started making my vanilla frosting first. So that I could color it. I'm using a new brand of food coloring, which is said to be all natural with no artificial dyes. So I'm just trying it out for the first time. The colors were fine, but it did not get as vibrant as my gel food coloring. So it's going to be hard to make a switch like that. But I'm happy that I tried it, and I'm happy that there are other options other than the artificial food colorings out there. They just don't work quite as well. Afterwards, I whipped up some butter again so that I could make some chocolate buttercream. So for this one, I subbed one of the half cups of icing sugar for some cocoa powder. So I did half a cup of cocoa powder and then 3.5 cups of icing sugar. So as I'm mixing this, I noticed that it was far too dry and it wasn't mixing the way I wanted it to. So I went ahead and I added the vanilla extract. And then when I still didn't notice an improvement, I added some cream until it reached the right consistency. If you are making buttercream and you're having it clump together and stuff like that, it just means it needs more liquid until you're able to work with it. Since I'm going to be decorating with it, I wanted it a little bit soft, but still able to hold its shape. Afterwards, I took my cake and I cut the top off. I still have not quite figured out how to get it evenly. I've seen a bunch of hacks and stuff on how to do it with like holding your knife very straight against the cake and then moving the cake in a circular motion. I don't know. I'm just doing my best and I kind of eyeball it. When my first daughter turned 1, we actually hired someone to make her cake, and it was like super expensive and it wasn't even that great. And so afterwards, my mom, when she was younger, had taken a cake decorating class and gave me all her old equipment, so all her piping tips, all her spatulas, everything. And I taught myself how to decorate cakes just by using YouTube and saying like, how can I use this piping tip or that piping tip? So I taught myself a few basics, like how to use a piping bag properly, what piping tips to use to make different things. And that's how I've been able to save a bunch of money on cakes. I am pretty sure I'm doing half of these things wrong, and that's fine. It's still working for us. The cakes still turn out pretty decent. And more importantly, the kids are always happy with the results. So for my son's birthday theme, he had asked for a T-Rex, baby shark, and lion birthday theme. So that one threw me for a loop a little bit, and it's actually not the first time one of our kids has asked for that specific theme. Our now almost 4-year-old asked for the same thing when he turned 2. And so I kind of had a little bit of an idea, but I didn't want to use fondant because I don't want the kids really eating that stuff. And so I had to figure out how to do it. So I went to the dollar store and I bought some figurines to put on top of the cake. And then I thought it was going to look too plain, just like a brown cake with nothing on it. So I decided to pipe some flowers all around the edge of the top and the bottom of the cake just to make it look a little bit fancier. And then I Googled like how to make like a wave because I needed somewhere for that baby shark to sit. And so I found this like sea kind of decoration, like not like under like the letter C, not under the water C. And so I tried that on a piece of parchment paper a couple times just to see how it would look. And once I was satisfied with it, then I did the same pattern on the cake and I placed all the figurines right on top. Decorating the cake probably took me about 40 minutes to an hour, but that's fine, and that's including making the buttercream. And so it's not a lot of time for a lot of return, in my opinion, considering the kids are always so impressed by their cakes. For supper, my toddler had asked for fries and chicken nuggets. Actually, he asked for fries and chicken nuggets, and then while I was making the fries and chicken nuggets, he declared that he wanted pizza. So that's toddlers for you, but we still had the chicken nuggets. My mom was kind enough to bring over boxes of chicken nuggets for us, and so I just made some fries with our potatoes from the storage, and I cook my potatoes with lard on top. I find that's the best way to make fries. So I'll add the lard just in chunks on top on the baking sheet, and then once it's melted down, I'll take the baking sheet out and I'll coat all the fries in some lard and some salt, and I will cook them in the oven at 425 degrees for 30 to 40 minutes. The chicken nuggets that my mom brought over were organic, but they still had seed oils in them, so they're not the best. We eat healthy like 95% of the time. Like I can count on my hands the amount of times we've gone to the restaurant in the last 3 years. But this is a birthday, and so I'm willing to let go of some of my food idealism in order to make my kids happy. And so it's all about balance over here. And everyone was very pleased with the supper we had. They especially liked dipping their chicken nuggets in honey. Once supper was over, it was time to get the candles on the cake and bring the cake to the birthday boy who still hadn't seen it.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Oliver. 1, 2, 3, blow. Harder, harder.
Wow!
Good job.
I think he was a little bit shocked by the whole singing the birthday song and the lights being off and the candles on the cake, even though we had been practicing singing the birthday song and blowing the candles. And afterwards, it was time for presents, and I think he was pleased with everything he got. He's 2, so he wouldn't tell me if he wasn't. He definitely really liked taking the wrapping paper off the gifts. Once the presents are unwrapped and the supper's eaten and the cake is eaten, it's time to clean up. And with that means it's the end of my video for you guys this week. If you have time, I'd love it if you hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do so. I'm back every Thursday with a new video.